I'm also making a face because, oh my god, people, please stop tagging me. Reply all is the devil. Yeah, I didn't realize that because I just downloaded a bunch of stuff. Well, that's a lie if I ever saw one. Being antisocial, that fits. So, the funny thing is, as a teenager, I did not have a computer at home until I was an adult. Oh, my sim has a camera? Why do I suddenly have a camera? And why am I still awake at 8:45 p.m. as a teenager? What's interesting is your sim will go all the way downstairs and go sit in a fucking chair somewhere. Oh, by the way, anyone who's watching the go, I do swear a lot when I'm streaming, so let me know if that's not okay. Um, because I have to remember that you all are watching the stream. And actually, I should move the window with the chat over here. Oh god, how do you pop out chat? I forgot. I'm the worst at this. There we go. So chat is actually in a place I can more easily read it. It is to the left of me. Oh wow, I have gross food next to me. That is not surprising. Hey Leela, how are you? Good afternoon. How are you? Can I get some love in the chat for Leela? How has your day been? How are your streams been? Um, so yeah, it's going to be a little bit interesting because members of my cohort for the Civic Media Fellowship are going to be in the chat. And starting round one, I will be talking more about kind of like my life and how I got where I'm at. So this is using The Sims, though. It's a little weird. Oh no, what happened? Farwick, what did you do? What did you do? Oh no, can someone un... There you go, Lily. You should be fine. Is that half awake sleepiness modding? Wow, my self sim is not socially apt. This is too accurate. Okay, hold on. How do I get to call in sick to school? How do I get to call in sick to school? Your phone goes to phone jail. Although I have unfollowed people reading my phone in bed. Um, so for anyone who's in the chat from my cohort, can you let me know if you want me to try to keep the Zoom call open as well? Yay, my homework's done. Wait, you're having sushi. You having sushi? How you gonna have sushi and not say hello and not share? Excuse you. Also, are they safe to eat? Fuck it, let's eat them. Oh, too many caps, maybe. Is there green smoke coming off of that? And why am I not Why? Game? Why? Hold on. This is bothering me. Three chairs, although it's frighteningly accurate to my actual. Okay, why? This is too much. So keep in mind when you play the Sims, you have to give them character traits, and without trying, these Sims of my grandmother, me, and my mother are a little too real. What is that? Oh, so funny story, not funny.
Oh, oh, Jatsabu. Chupaza. Pues.
If you send an old Sim on a jog, oh, apparently my mom's Sim is afraid of the pool. I am confusion. Why game? Why? Why can't I emptied it. Why does it still have Why does it still have like green things coming from it? Hold on. Now I need to just delete those. I don't know why the coffee pot is always so disgusting. Wow, the Impresso espresso machine is not reliable. I didn't even know there was a teapot in there. This is a little too real. Of course, I'm so excited for Uni. Uni? I don't know why I said Uni. I played Uni for Sims 3 so much. It was shameful. Oh god, go to sleep, child. Me. So at 1 o'clock, it's going to be a little weird. Not weird in a bad way, but I'm going to start talking about myself. Hey, B. And my life and using these Sims. I may have to turn off autonomy to get them to do what I want, but it's a little weird. Um, it's very strange. Because I've been thinking about how to actually do this, because the Sims do what they want to do. So I may just pull them up in change a Sim and talk about each Sim. Yes, everyone is going to come in. I think people are actually watching now. So hello, cohort friends. How are you? Um, I'm just checking in on Discord before we really get started. And so it'll be interesting. Oh, Nigel streamed on the wrong channel again. Sorry, I was watching I peeped in a Discord. So,
Kisanas Navy. Oh,
so what's
Papa
interesting
Yurid
is
and
these sim versions of
Sneezy.
my family
Arlene Yorid.
are not
Olak
exactly
Surf.
true to
Zambas.
life.
Crib Scoobaroo. Browner.
Also, why are y'all not asleep? Why?
Garzoy. Ichuda. Huh?
Ebony Flurba. Yanka
Sneeba.
Bamu. Zamba Grasha.
Eloid. Eloid. Snurza.
Ah,
Tiba Snurza.
Yibs.
Hopla Yamis.
Oh,
Yibla.
Suflo. Soapy. Vabo. Sick of flesh.
I don't understand this
Leaves.
identifying fish
Delphi.
randomly.
Nepa. Rinka Shalbo. Spobani. Jessene.
Interestingly enough, this is not
Chimabojos.
helping her social.
Mhm.
Um, oh my god, go to bed. Please go to bed. Hello, B. So the other thing I didn't do was give them a dog, which I didn't think to do. Um, edit Cass F added some after after moving in. Okay, why is my sim up? Why? Oh my god, why am I like this? Testing cheats enabled. True. That is not working. Huh. I can't. I'm not getting it. Hmm. Yeah, I can't do it. Oh well. I thought you could also just adopt a dog, but I'm wrong. Hey, Jack, how are you? Oh my god. Hey, C. Miles. Yes, so, hi everybody, how are you? So let me know when you're ready and I can start. So, Sims are a little bit dependent, or very independent, I should say. Yay, Jack, I will follow you. And if you ever want to talk Twitch stuff, I'm happy to do that. Oh, I know you can, but testing cheats enable true didn't work for me. So we have
Okay.
Teen Me. Oh, apparently my manners have gone down. So welcome everyone from the Civic Media Fellowship. Let me know when you're settled and we can get started. So it's a little weird. I'm gonna keep saying that, and I also cuss a lot when I stream. So welcome in everybody. So yeah, so Leela, I'm in a Civic Media Fellowship, and we have to do things called life maps. Michelle or Sophie, if either of you could explain a life map in the chat, that'd be great. So people understand exactly what I'm doing and why I'm not as attentive to the chat as usual. And in the chat, you can feel free to put questions in once I'm done talking. So I'm doing this in two parts. I made a sim family of teenage me, my mom, and my grandmother, and then I have an adult sim me in another neighborhood to kind of talk through what I'm doing. So it's a little strange for me to do this as kind of an educational thing with The Sims and with streaming. Sim me is not happy. Sim me had to go to school. Um, it's a little weird, and I talked about this on Twitter. So actually, let me find that Twitter thread. Jack or Sadet, you may have seen it because you follow me on Twitter. I talked about how hard this was to do because I don't have any photos of my grandmother. I don't even remember what she looks like or sounds like anymore. So it was really rough to do this. And part of that is a life map, and part of that changes you. And Sims also are very, very autonomous on their own. They're just doing what they want to do. I'm not telling them what to do at all right now. So I'm looking for the start of that thread where I talked about it. Hey, Sish, how are you? Um, so yeah, so this is what I do sometimes when I'm not doing media fellowship stuff. And it probably is weird watching this on the TV in the lab. So let me know when y'all are settled. And also, can someone let me know if I'm the only life map today? So I want to be conscious of time. And also give enough time for any Q&A. So please be nice to my Civic Media fellows. Okay. So my grandmother does not have a job. My mother does not have a job. What the? This is not something I thought I'd see in The Sims. Oh no, Eustace, I'm sorry. Be safe out there. So for those, if you can't read the text, it says that we found Tanya in a bathroom stall eating a sandwich. It says unexpected, and we're not sure what to make of it, but figured we should call. I don't know what to make of it either. When you're a parent sim, things get strange. Wow, my empathy went down. This is too much like real life. So yeah, and lab folks, just let me know when you're ready, and I will start talking about sim me, which is weird. My empathy has gone down. This is strange. Oh my god, take a shower. This is also much nicer than the house I grew up in. The actual house I grew up in. So I don't know if this is funny or not, but my sim grandmother, if you send her on a jog, and I'm gonna do this now, Sims that are elderly and go on a jog can die. Which I did not know. So let me know when you are ready to start, and I can start talking about my life map. Oh my god, go for your jog. Alright, so, and of course Sim Me is at school. Can Sim Me come home? Alright, so I just sent Sim Me also on a jog. So we're gonna just talk about my mom and life and what have you. So again, everyone in the chat who is normally part of the community, this is actually a presentation for my Civic Media Fellowship. So talking about life, and I'm using The Sims, which is a little weird. Dan, if you're in the chat, if you're not waiting on the internet to come back, this is your fault. Alright, so The sim is my grandmother, Marguerite, and I grew up on the south side of the Chicago area, wow, which is bad English. South side of Chicago. It was my grandmother, me, and my mom. And this is the closest approximation of my grandmother I could make. She was light. She was much lighter than me. She passed for white. She was a Depression era kid who had to pass in order to survive. Um, oh no, what happened? So, Ahmad, can you see what it was? My block list is really tight because of all people. So yeah, this is my grandmother. I'm gonna change her to everyday attire. And it's Creole Cajun. Unfortunately, she passed away 16 years ago, so it was hard and it was heartbreaking to make the sim yesterday because it was hard. I don't remember accurately what my grandmother looked like. And so this is the best I could do. Her name is Marguerite. I don't know why she's wearing this weird necklace. Next up is my mom, Bernadette. I don't know what's up with the eyebrows. I couldn't find good eyebrows yesterday. As long as I can remember, my mom has been at home and either not working on public aid or on disability. So this is more the mom I grew up with as a teenager. And because I've got everything for The Sims, you can actually do odd jobs, which I used for her to get occasional money. I also did a money cheat, so the Sims are better well off than I ever was as a kid. So yeah, so this is my mom sim. And this is me as a teenager. Let me see if I can find this photo. Because I really had to go back and find what I looked like as a teenager. I didn't forget. But trying to make myself as a kid in this game was really hard. So hold on. So for those in the cohort, and I can also pull it up on screen as well. So let me see if I can pull up this photo by way of adding a source. Well, thank you. That is one of the default shirts. It's not letting me add a source. Oh, that is food. That's not what I wanted. So that photo is my prom photo that I just put in the chat, and I use that as kind of a base for my teenage sim. So things that happened to me as a teenager and really inform what I do now or person I've turned into. I left home at 18. I was one of those kids. I thought I knew everything, and I decided I was grown, and that was not the best idea for a teenage Tanya. The guy that's in the prom photo that I've linked in the chat is my ex that I dated throughout high school, etc. And that relationship formed a lot of what became who I am, I guess. We dated off and on until about 1999, 2000, and that relationship was one of those where you learned a lot of life lessons. We actually were homeless for a while because his grandmother had dementia, and living in a garage in winter in Chicago built a lot of character. And it is one of those things that I've never forgotten. It's tried to make it. I thought it would make me more empathetic. Sometimes that doesn't always come out. I don't know where she is. Why she's staying in the rain. So I'm also trying to get my Sims to do stuff while I'm talking. So I am paying attention. It's a little hard because I can't see any of you and I can just see my camera. And I know that my camera is like in a weird place on the screen. So my mom, even after moving out, we did not have the best relationship. We still don't have the best relationship. And that is something else that really informed who I became. She was part of that Reagan era welfare to work and had to do the whole go to work, prove you're not a lazy bum, and the welfare queen mythos that happened. And it was a lot. And it showed me that the government basically does not care about you if you are a person of color or poor. Because we grew up on public aid, I remember having actual food stamp books and going to the store with those, and the shame of having that dollar food stamp with you. And those years of growing up without a lot of money, being a kid, even though I grew up in a middle class neighborhood, still being very class conscious, still being very aware that in this group we still didn't have a lot of money. We still weren't seen as part of the in group. I grew up on the south side of the city, and that was very middle class, but it was also very black. We did not have a lot of people, non people of color in the neighborhood. So it all those experiences made me think about others and also the ways in which we self insulate and the ways in which we self select a lot of ways in a lot of ways because I didn't have a lot of friends that were people of color once I got out of high school. A lot of those friends that I made either got pregnant before we finished high
Beyama.
school. They're some of them are dead. One due to drug overdose, one due to
Uh-huh.
injuries taken when he was a student athlete. Um, and every time I go back to the south side of the city, it's just kind of a reminder that the life I had, even though it was poor, even though I'm an only child, my mom's an only child, my grandmother had a sister who grew up in a nursing home as long as I could remember. She was in a nursing home, and I didn't find out why until
Oh.
after my grandmother passed.
Hmm.
And she was someone who witnessed a terrible crime. And back then, way back in
Yeah.
those days, they just put you in a home if you had any sense of mental illness or stress, or they didn't believe you. Um, they would just put you away. So she was in a
Ah.
nursing home as long as I remembered. Um, and my grandmother just standing there is a little too real right now because she, in her final years, did have dementia. And it was really hard. That's why I made her an elder in the Sims family. Um, she did a lot of just sitting around the house. She couldn't do a lot. There'd be times I'd go over and she wouldn't know who I was. And again, the failure of the system to do anything reminded me that the system doesn't give a fuck about you. And it was a hard lesson. So for context, my grandmother had dementia. She thought I was my mom a lot of times when I go over. My mom didn't know what to do because this was her last parent. Hey, Kim, I hope you're feeling better. Um, because my grandfather died before I was born. That's why there's no grandfather sim. I did not get to know my grandfather at all. He died 3 years before I was born. And that informed a lot of how my mom treated me as a kid, as a teenager. And it was not the best relationship. Because she was 20 going on 21 when she had me, and she's never dealt with my grandfather's death. And I know a lot of this is personal, but this is what made me to the person you got in the fellowship. So hopefully, if it's triggering, if it's something you can't deal with, please feel free to either just mute, listen, type something in the chat. I will not be offended because I'm trying not to get super emotional while I talk about this because my life is not the best life. Um, and and so those years were very formative. It taught me a lot about the system. It taught me a lot about being a person of color in in this space. Um, and it hurt. A lot of it hurt because nobody was going to help you. Nobody was going to come and save you. There was no safety in learning about who you were or what it was. Other black folks would be just as detrimental to you as the white kids I would eventually meet when I grew up and moved out on my own and went to college and started working. I started working at 16. I grew up in Chicago on the South Side, Goofy. Um,
Ah.
so a lot of that was seeing how the system failed us because my grandmother got older and had dementia, and the teen me is doing well. Um, we tried to inquire with the city for help. You know, when they got back to us after she died, they got back to us after um, they got back to us after she was gone. There was nothing to do for that. Um, and it was a hard and salient lesson. Granted, I was already an adult. I was already living on my own by the time this happened. It was still hard to see. Hey, Glacier. And so yeah, so that was a lot of my teen years. I did not give teen me a boyfriend in this sim house because a this house is not really big enough for three sims as it were. Um, because I don't know who designed this house. It was designed in a very strange way. It was designed for a single sim with two studies or something. I had to repurpose these bedrooms. So what's funny about this is that the sim team me does have all this technology. Me, I was not allowed to have a computer in the house because my mother and grandmother were afraid of technology. My grandmother was one of those people that probably would have hid her money in a mattress if she could have got away with it. But as she got older, um, she had to she had to go on direct deposit, and it was just there was just a lot of there was a lot of not great times in that house, shall we say. This house is not accurate. I could not rebuild the house I grew up in because A, I don't have any photos of it because it's a disaster. It's totally a disaster. And my teen years were not great. My teen years had homelessness. It had a lot of angst. It had a lot of not talking to my mother or my grandmother. Um, and Mom Sim trying to help me with homework is so not a thing. That actually happened IRL. A lot of times I had to um, do things on my own. I had to do a lot of things. I do things for them. And when I moved out at 18, it was not my best decision, but you know, when you're stupid and in love, you think you know what you're doing. That was not my best idea, put it that way. So, so adult Tanya lives in an apartment, and we're going to transition to adult Tanya because basically a lot of my teen years growing up on the south side of Chicago were dealing with the rules I had to have under that house, and not great. So, while I'm switching over to adult Tanya Sim, anyone in the chat have questions? Anyone from my cohort have questions? Thoughts on using the Sims to do your life map? Because this is a little weird, I'm going to be honest, to use Sims to tell my life story. Not that this is that strange, but it's a little weird. So, this is another neighborhood in The Sims. It's nowhere near like the neighborhood I live in now. It looks almost like they tried to make San Francisco because of this bridge and call it San Myshuno. Sim EA is based in San Francisco. So yeah, my sim is doing okay. Oh really, Kim? I would love to know why. And also, how are you doing post-dental? So I'm also talking to people in my chat because this is what I normally do. I know it may sound strange to people watching from the fellowship, but part of what streaming does for me is also community building. So yeah. Oh, my apartment needs help. So we're now moving on to young adult Tanya Sim, which is weird. Really? I am fascinated. Oh, jeez. Alright, so here we have adult Tanya, who lives in an apartment that is much nicer than my own, just to let you all know. My own apartment is not this nice. There's my cat that you may or may not hear, because my cat often likes to interject when I'm streaming. So, adult Sim Tanya is going to be the Sim we talk about. I keep saying Sim me. the adult me from about 20-ish up till now. So we're going to cram 20 years into maybe 30 minutes. Yes, there is a Genki, Kim. So we're actually look at the changes to an adult Tanya, which sounds so weird. I know it sounds weird. You know what? There's no mirror in this bathroom or this whole apartment that is much like real life. So hold on. We need to buy me a mirror. This is weird, but we need to buy me a mirror. So I can show you what I'm talking about. You can also just see The Sims. So while I'm buying myself sim a mirror, does anyone have questions from the cohort? Oh. Hey, Yuria. Oh, that's not what I wanted. So yes, any of my regular folks, we're doing something for my cohort. So we're going to go to Change Sim, and I'll explain some of Self-Sim me. And this is too accurate because real me is always tense. And this bathroom and this living room is everything nicer than mine.
Oblish, Bernala Flow.
Oh my god, I hate my voice so much.
Febine Lovo.
Me boon Grash.
Oh, so Sedette.
Ooh.
It was great. I know, isn't it a little weird, Jack? So what got me into The Sims, Sedette, I've been playing The Sims for a long time. Like, I mean, obviously you can't see it, but I've got literally all of The Sims, like the intro to Sims through The Sims 3, like physical CDs you had to use to install it. I've got everything for The Sims. It always fascinated me, and I like building more than running my Sims' lives. And I have no sense of scope and scale when I build things. So if you want, I can show you a neighborhood I normally play that I didn't make for this exercise. But it's interesting because the whole running Sims lives and playing God is interesting from a meta perspective. And this is the first game of the Sims series where it's autonomy's off or on. There is no in between. Autonomy in 3 was a sliding scale. So I could have said a little autonomy, have the Sims do it, a little bit of what they want to do, but use them as I want to explain points. But autonomy's off or on in Sims 4, so they're just going about their lives while I talk. No, I saw your question, Goofy. Oh, good, Kim. So, Goofy, who's part of the community, asked, what's your opinion on systemic oppression in America when dealing with minorities? My opinion on it is that it's bullshit and it affects us every single day, and people that don't want to accept that are living a lie. There really are two separate Americas. And if you don't think that there are two separate Americas, you are very lucky and very privileged. And we've seen the proof of that with the whole "this is not my America" when it comes to talking about politics in this world. The solution is reparations, wealth distribution, and giving us equal footing. It's not just simply saying here's a bunch of money, but if we had, what do you call it? What is it other countries do? A living wage. If we gave people universal basic income and they didn't have to worry about keeping a roof over their head, feeding themselves, clothing themselves, if they could have a universal basic income and be okay, or as close to okay as between jobs or whatever, look at countries where it works. You don't have a lot of the same problems with homelessness, with other things where people here, it's like, and this is getting a little off the topic. Hey, Matrix. It's getting a little off topic, and then we'll come back to the life map. Is that if I could, let's say I get super sick and have to go to the hospital, one hospital stay is going to destroy me. Who? No. I don't really want anyone for president, honestly. All of them suck. But I'm going for the least evil. Fuck Kamala, she's a cop. Yeah, I said it. They all suck. I don't want any of them, to be honest. Right. Oh, the police. Well, for those who don't know, officer came from overseer, which was overseeing slaves and catching them. And we can have a deep conversation about that, Goofy, after we're done with the life map part. And I'm also taking off my hoodie because I'm super warm. The heat keeps coming up in my apartment. So, this is me. No, it's fine. It's totally fine. These are the kind of conversations I like to have, but it's kind of off topic of the life map part. And this is the kind of stuff you get when you watch me on Twitch when I'm not doing fellowship stuff. So this is Sim Me, and this is as accurate to me as I could be because I'm light-skinned, I will wear my N7 hoodie every day in the winter, I wear glasses normally, I don't wear makeup. The Sim is not as chubby as me. So, this is me, and they actually have locks in the Sims now if you have all of the expansions. So yeah, so this is Sim Me. And this is my cat that you sometimes hear on calls. He is not an accurate representation because he's not quite that stripy, but that's the best I could do. So yes, you can have pets in The Sims if you want to. He could sound like a raccoon if I wanted, which is weird, but okay. That's more accurate, actually. Alright, so that is Sim Me. This is who you've gotten. Yes, Bungie went well. It was a fun time. Well, don't worry, Goofy. We can keep talking about that all day, because I'm 46 and black living in the US. So, alright, so, what's funny is the Sim cat has jumped up on the counter.
Okay.
Sim Me is also a hothead, much like real life. I just don't show it very much. Oh shit! That was fire. Sorry. Apparently fire can happen and lightning struck the building. That was not okay. So, adult me, moved out from home, lived with the ex that's in the prom photo for a while, until I went to Japan for study abroad. I spent a year in Japan. I loved it. It was definitely a formative thing. I got to meet so many other people. And I got to meet a lot of people that I never ever want to be like in life. Because I met a lot of people who did not care anything about Japanese culture. They did not care about... sorry, I'm also I'm updating the audio because, oh my god, sound effects are loud. And they are overshadowing me in my headset. Sorry, it blanked out for a second. That year abroad taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about being independent too, because the first semester I lived with a family. I lived outside the school, and then the second semester I actually stayed on campus, which taught me that I could never live in a dorm if I ever was in college again in the States. I went to school as an adult. I did not go as an 18-year-old, which is why adult me is here. Ironically, the university pack was announced, so I can't show you university, Tanya, because it's not out yet. I came back, and that was an interesting year because I had to make a choice about the job I had at the time. I was a receptionist at a law firm, which I wasn't enjoying that much because it was very sad. And I think about Sadet when I think about the years I worked at this law firm, because it was an immigration law firm. And you don't know what heartbreak is until you have someone come in and say that their father's being put on a plane right now to O'Hare and there's literally nothing you can do. Or people that you see have their petitions denied. Yeah, I lived there for a year and studied for a year. it's heartbreaking, but there's also the very capitalist side where the government is making money off people's desire to immigrate here. For those that don't know, the fees to become a citizen, the fees to do anything legally as an international student, as a asylum seekers, anything, are astronomical, and a lot of times they don't waive those fees. So we had people that would come in and they're spending two, three, four, $500 an hour to talk to an attorney, to go be in court, to do reams and reams of paperwork just for the chance to live in the U.S. Um, and it was really, really depressing. It was very depressing to do that work, and it actually was. It was an interesting chance to get away from it. I actually left that job to work at DePaul, which is where I did my undergrad degree, and that was a trip because higher education is a lot. And I know I say this being in this fellowship and having worked in higher ed, but I did that for 16 years. Um, it was it was a whole lot of stress. It was a whole lot of seeing the underbelly of how far people go to get their kids in college. It was a lot of seeing what people will do because they've been sold the American dream of a college education. I had experiences where people called and yelled at me because their kid didn't graduate because their kid screwed up. Where people came in and they demanded attention because their kid had a scholarship or their kid didn't get admitted and they come to our office. I had a faculty member throw in an absolute fit in our office because someone did not get a scholarship and he was mad about it. And it was one of those things where I was like, why do I come back to this job? And I worked in admissions for 10 years. I will never work in higher ed again. I'd rather dig my eye out with a spoon. But those 10 years, I stayed at DePaul, but moved to their international studies office or international services division. I forget what we called it, or international programs. Um, I, I'm sorry, my sim self left the building. Um, hi, Mandy. Um, my sim self left the building. I'm very confused, but I'm talking about my life map, and so can someone either scroll back up and copy what the life map is, or I'll see what I if I it's still in the chat. Um, so I'm trying to find it so I can explain what a life map is. Aha, I found it. I'm going to actually make a command for that really quick while we're talking. Life map is what I'm doing for my Civic Media Fellowship, Mandy. And I'm talking about things in my life that kind of led me to where I'm at now. And it's weird. So I made a command called life map. So if you want to know what I'm doing, then you can just do exclamation life map for an explanation of what I'm talking about. So yes, working in higher ed. Working in higher ed showed me some real ugly behavior. Even worse when I worked in international education because it's such a fucking scam. People have to show, for those that don't know, a year of tuition and housing up front before they can even hope to get a student visa. And that's assuming their country lets them get a visa and come into the US. So what I did was I advised students that were there, we did orientation. I also had the unenviable task of reporting to Civic, the Student Exchange Visitor Information Set. Wow, it's been so long I forgot what Civic means. Student Exchange Visitor Information something. I forgot what the other S is for. Every semester, I had to report where 3,000 international students were. We also had the task of terminating their visas. And having to sit there while someone loses their status and cries in your office for something that either maybe they can't help, something that isn't a, a thing that they could avoid. Like if someone owed any money on tuition, they owed schooling money, you were not allowed to register. That changed after my first year working there. And again, I'm just letting my self sim do whatever while she is out and about. Um, but I'm gonna send her outside because my sim doesn't ever go anywhere. Um, um, so that was something that I learned a very harsh reality about. That um, a lot of places just don't care about you. Um, there were times that I had to terminate a status because someone worked without permission, and they didn't know any better, and so we had to say sorry. You've lost your status, and you had to deal with that. And it was really rough. It was very rough to I mean, that's true, Sentai. So that was another pivotal thing that happened while I was working in higher ed, and I hated it. I really, really, really fucking hated it because a lot of times it would be we had to do our job because someone couldn't afford to register anymore. They couldn't register because they owed money on the previous semester. Um, and there were times where also people drove me up a wall, and I hated the job. I hated it about 3 years in. I had it for 5 years. But during this job that I started to hate, that's where I Need Diverse Games came in. So I've always been a gamer. I've always enjoyed video games, tabletop, etc. And I was frustrated by the state of gaming because year after year, E3, one of the big conventions, we always see the same people on stage, the same white bros who come out and announce the latest and greatest game, and it's always the same, BS with save the world, get the girl. No one looking like me or Sedette or Set or anyone else that's in the room gets to save the world or the universe. We don't get to be that person. And so I threw out a tweet in 2014 saying, I really love it. If I could have games that look like me, and tagged it I Need Diverse Games. And it went from there. Mickey Kendall, Carnithia, who retweeted it, shared that, and she has a much larger Twitter presence than me, always has had a bigger Twitter presence. And it took off. A lot of people saw it, a lot of game developers saw it, and people were using the tag. It trended for a couple days. And it was one of those things where it was just right time, right moment. I'll answer about the stress in a bit. Gemini Pearl, just remind me. Um, it was something that I hadn't planned on. I was just frustrated literally before work. However, this is the part I don't talk about too much because people wanted to attribute what I was doing as a response to Gamergate. And I don't know if Toya is in the room or on the call. But Toya and I both, Latanya and I both dealt with Gamergate stuff. And for those who don't know it, so before I keep talking about that in the chat, let me know if you don't know what Gamergate is, and I can give a brief on it. I don't want to give them too much credit. I don't give them any credit because they're trash. But I can explain what Gamergate is if you don't know what it is. But too many people saw that as... So, Gemini asked, so Gamergate... Alright, so... And this is as much as I want to say about them. So, Gamergate was a movement, and I use that very sarcastically and loosely, of people who claim they were about consumer rights in video games. That was their excuse when anyone would call them on it. And be like, oh, well, we care about people and we care about games. And what it actually was a campaign to terrorize some developers who... True. And Kim was there, I'm sure. Big Wired saw some of it. But as a person of color, as a woman on the internet, as an out queer person, it was a bad time for me. So it became a movement, basically a bunch of MRAs, men's rights activists, incels, people who are involuntarily celibate according to themselves, form these hate groups, form these boys' clubs of places online, and basically blamed women, their nemesis SJWs, social justice warriors, which is bullshit. Queer folks, etc. They blame them for games and what is going on in games, etc. And they saw the tag and immediately went to town on it. Mickey actually called me at work. She never calls me, especially not during the day when she knew I had a day job, and warned me about it. I had to get a block list. I had to start blocking people. There were like videos made by those dudes who like to sit in chairs with their glass skull and their snifter of brandy and be angry about the world and challenging games. And games are already diverse. How dare you? Oh my god, let me go home and sleep. Um, yes, it is why block lists exist. So that response was what people did to any mention of diversity, inclusion. For any of you that may follow games, if you ever saw the cover to Battlefield 5, Battlefield 5 or Battlefield 1 by EA. True, it was a $10 whiskey. And there's the cat. Right, but if you even talked about that stuff, Goofy, then you were this enemy, and etc., etc. So, wow, my sim is angry, much like me IRL. And so that unfortunately gave it a boost, but it was not in response to Gamergate. Nothing I was doing was in response to Gamergate. It was me being tired of not being included in games, of seeing game after game with people like the protagonist from Duke Nukem or other games where even mentioning having a black woman, having a black character, having something like my hair still is not in video games. The fact the Sims have it is a shock. I'm gonna take a sip because oh my god, I keep talking. And so the I Need Diverse Games hashtag took off. It became its own community. I started getting asked to guest on podcasts. I started getting interviewed. There were people talking about it. There's a lot of buzz around it. And at a certain point, I just asked, do people want this to be its own thing? Oh no, Jack. Let me VIP you so it doesn't do that again. I also know Jack, so Jack IRL. Oh, right. So Glacier and other folks in the chat know this. And Jack, I'm sure you've seen it with... and also let me... Yeah, it probably flagged a term, but if you want to throw stuff in the Slack, feel free. I VIP'd you, so you should be exempt from those rules. So you should be okay. So that became something that basically became a second job. I was doing more panels. I was doing more workshops. I was getting asked to come and speak to things. That year, Geek Girl Con talked about it. Weirdly enough, they didn't take a panel about it the next year, even though it was still a thing. And it grew from there. It got its own Twitter account because it was taking over my Twitter account. I made a Tumblr because for me, I still, at the time, before Tumblr was more trash, it was a way to start up something without investing in a website, and then eventually it became a website. People wanted me to come speak about diversity and inclusion, and in 2016, it became a 501c3. We're in limbo with 501c3 because I am one person, and one person cannot run a whole nonprofit by themselves. So we still exist, just not quite in that same space. But we've been very lucky in that out of a moment of frustration and anger on the internet, there has been a chance to send 25 people to the Game Developers Conference. And for those that don't know, the Game Developer Conference is the professional development experience for developers that is held in San Francisco every year. And actually, a colleague and I were talking about it today on Twitter, because for those that don't know, an all-access pass to GDC is $2,000. That's before you've gone to San Francisco, booked a flight, booked a hotel, and hotels, as we know, get jacked up during conferences. So I laid out the cost for me to go to GDC with the badge covered. I'm looking at $3,000 if I go. I didn't submit to speak this year, so if I still want to go out of pocket, I'm looking at $5,000. So becoming part of that scholarship program, at least we can give people a pass. The hard part is a lot of people walk the walk, or they talk the talk, they don't walk the walk when it comes to diversity and inclusion. And so we've tried to fundraise the first 2 years we were in the program, and people, they talked a good game, but they never came up with the money, as I'm sure a lot of you sitting in the lab know and have experienced, where people talk a lot about supporting things and they don't actually do it. So of that, I've now had a chance to be a guest speaker, go to a lot of conventions, be a guest of honor at a few conventions. This year I just spoke at Pixel Pop, which is in St. Louis. I have had a chance to go to Australia, where I met Winston Works in person. And a lot of opportunities have come up. But the other part is that didn't come without a cost. The defining moment in all of this, because I'd been debating if I could make a career out of this, because I was basically doing two jobs. I was doing my day job, which paid okay, paid better than I make now, and also keep doing what I'm doing, because I was burning through vacation time. I wasn't sleeping, wasn't eating a lot, but there's still just one of me. And all my vacation time was going to conventions or taking time off or doing conference calls or doing a podcast. And so, all right, bye Sentai. This is the VOD. You'll be able to see the rest of it. And so, with the formation of a 501c3, and also just before that, people would donate time and money, and we got to go to PAX and be part of the Diversity Lounge. A lot of it has come down to people want diversity and inclusion, but they don't want to pay for diversity and inclusion. They want to have you there as your prop and go, look at us, see, aren't we awesome? Look at what we've done. And they don't actually follow through. EA hired a diversity and inclusion person. I know Riot has a D&I person. I know her. A lot of places have a D&I person, but then nothing changes. So that pivotal moment of realizing I could do this as a job, because I lost my job, aka I got fired over bullshit in December 2015, led to me going, I'm going to take the 6 months I have unemployment, once I had to fight for unemployment, because bullshit, and see if I can make a go of this, see if I can make this work as a full-time gig of doing D&I, doing diversity and inclusion work. And that meant research, that meant sensitivity reading, that meant other things. And people came through, and I'm incredibly fortunate that I've got a community and I've got people who support what I do and believe in what I do, which is why I'm able to do stuff like this fellowship, and why I'm able to do things like be self-employed, even though it sucks because there's no health insurance paid for by someone else when you're self-employed. So things like that, because it was also a detriment to my health. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't getting a lot of stuff done. And, at the end of the day, it affected what I do. And I don't know why we're staring at this bathroom. So yeah. So those life experiences of leaving home at 18, studying abroad in Japan, going to college as an adult versus as an 18-year-old, meeting a lot of people who helped improve my worldview. A conscious choice not to have kids, a conscious choice to live where I live, which is the south or the north side of the city now, because I have access to a lot more things, because people forget that black folk exist on the south side of Chicago, and they cut off buses and other things. Working in higher ed for 16 years has showed me that I never want to do that again. Working for attorneys killed my desire to be an attorney ever. I used to want to be one. And the experiences I've had doing diversity and inclusion work, being privileged enough to sit down with developers and talk to them, has taught me, and Kim will laugh at this, a lot of gamers know exactly fuck all about how games are made. They only think that what they want is important, and they forget that there's a very human cost to game development. and I just was at Bungie last week, the people who make Destiny, and it was interesting because I hit them with a lot of facts and figures from the developer satisfaction survey from the IGDA, and I can link that in our Slack when we're done or while we're chatting, and I can switch to a just chatting scene also when we're done with The Sims. Because my sim is self-employed like me. It's weird. I didn't know you could do that. So the wrap up and long and short is I've experienced everything from poverty to homelessness to being able to travel internationally, thanks both to college, to friends' generosity. I've been in a museum. I'm still in a museum at the Victoria and Albert. I've had a chance to speak at the Smithsonian. And it's all been thanks to community, which is why it's so important to me and why I'm really glad that I'm in this fellowship, even though I'm still confused and trying to figure out where I fit in. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. I'm 46, still here, and somehow still surviving in this world economy. And I am in this fellowship with all of you fine folks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save The Sims, and I'm going to switch to a just chatting scene. Hey, Ebonix, how are you? Thank you so much. So we're going to switch over to just chatting, and everyone in my fellowship, please throw questions in the chat, either from folks in the chat or other things. And that's thanks to Brian. So yeah. Thank you for the sub, Ebonix. How are you? Y'all should follow Ebonix Sims. She does a lot of the Sims. So yeah, so this is what I do when I am not hanging out on our group chats and other things. So yeah, Ebonic Sims is amazing. She was just profiled by BBC Africa for her work in The Sims. So yeah, so throw questions at me. This is what we do. So yeah, I got to be very meta and use The Sims for what I do. So we're still chatting. I'll switch to just chatting in a second. Please give a shout out to Ebonix if you have not done so. Title. I'm going to leave the title up. Game just chatting. So yeah. So hopefully change to just chatting. For myself, I actually like to play Rainbow Siege. Basically, Ebonix, I need a new board for I Need Diverse Games. Oh, you're welcome, B. I'm glad I could pull this off. So Sadet asked, what is a game that you think most changed your life? Excuse me. I would love to, but money, Ebonix. And there's also POC in games. Hey, Sarah Jane, how are you? That's tough because I go between Dungeons and Dragons because I actually started playing games way back when. I've been playing D&D since it first came out. And, well, not literally since it first came out because I'm only a year older than D&D. It's a toss-up between Dungeons and Dragons because it lets me use my imagination. For those that don't do tabletop, you basically create a character and your dungeon master creates a world and you run around in it and you go do what you're going to do. And Dragon Age 2, and I know friends in the chat will laugh, but the Dragon Age community is where I made a lot of friends. It's how I got to meet, I want to say Kim, how I got to meet a lot of friends. And getting to stream that experience of the third game is where a lot of people I know came in. Okay, cool. Yes, please DM me. I'm super excited to hear what you're talking about. Yes, I consulted on John Wick Hex. So let me know if that answers your question, Sadet, and other folks in the cohort, please throw questions in the chat. If you are directly logged in, please feel free. I'm especially interested in what Sadet and Jack think, since Jack finally made a channel, made a account. Kim, working on that was interesting because I'd never seen a game like John Wick Hex, and actually I'd had a conversation about it much sooner with Mike at previous GDC, but of course he couldn't tell me what the game was at the time. And so being under an NDA until he could announce that game was so hard because I knew about it for like months. Um, Yay! I'm so glad. So yeah, that was my life in The Sims. Hopefully, it was entertaining and it was not too boring about what I do when I'm on Twitch. If you have questions about Twitch, about other stuff that I do, but I also I know that, yeah, adults always wing it, Goofy. Adults always wing it. We don't know what we're doing. We tell that lie to kids. I disagree with that. 87 Linux games can't really just be shut out by AI because there's still a human need for games. Oh, really? Do you care to go in depth in that? Because this is what I do as a streamer. Um, Learning Twitch interface is cool, and I'm glad I get to do it through your channel because you're so dedicated to creating inclusive, brave spaces. So I'm getting an extra good impression of the platform. Thank you, Jack. And like I said, I'm happy to do that. If people want to deep dive into Twitch streaming, I'm happy to do that as well. How did I like speaking? It was okay, Goofy. I was actually, and people in my chat are probably going to be tired of me saying this. I was irritated because I felt like this year they put all the diversity panels in their own little, like, hole in the wall. They did not have to put the diversity panels in the Unity Lounge. They could put us in a real room. Because as you saw, you were standing in the back of the room. There was not enough space for us. Get Kismet to manage spam, and it will make the world of difference. Right, there was not enough space. People were waiting to get in. Some people couldn't see the panel at all. They were watching outside in the hall. So while I've done a lot of panels, I'm doing panels at PAX Unplugged in a couple, no, next in December. It was a good panel. We got good feedback, except for that one stupid fucker that tried to be funny. For those that didn't watch or didn't know TwitchCon was a thing, thank you for your resub, Kim. You're awesome. And even recovering from getting 5 teeth extracted, you were here. I appreciate you. Because when I got 1 tooth extracted, I didn't want to talk to anyone for like a week. So I feel like they could do better. And I know it was kind of a last ditch to save the Diversity Lounge or the Unity Lounge, but they could have put those panels in a regular room. They really should have. Because it just felt like we were being punished for having diversity content. And my panel wasn't even about diversity, it was about community building. So Miles asked, how long have you been streaming on Twitch, and how has this platform for community interaction made a difference for you? I've been streaming on Twitch, I want to say, when did Dragon Age Inquisition come out? Whatever that was is when I started streaming on Twitch, so let me look it up. Because whatever that date was. So Dragon Age Inquisition actually it'll be 5 years next month that it came out. So it's almost 5 years that I've been on the platform, a little under, because I got the PlayStation 4 when it came out, and I started streaming on that. It's okay, Kim. And the other part of Miles' question, community's made all the difference, because for those that, 2014, it's made all the difference because for those that I don't know or don't follow me on Twitter, we've had a harasser and stalker in the community since last December. Twitch has not done anything about it. And without the community here, both to keep me kind of safe and sane, and for me to have a reason to keep doing this, I would have quit streaming last year. I would have said, fuck this. This is not worth it. I don't need this after almost 4 years and a year being partnered, because it made me so anxious to stream. It made me hate streaming. It turned what was something that's normally very fun and exciting and a way to hang out virtually with friends into something I dreaded. So without this community, I would not still be here. And that is 200% the truth of why I keep coming back. Because there are times when I hate this. There are times when I just I did anything but stream. Um, so yeah, if not for community and community building, I would not be here. Let's see. Next question. What are your general thoughts about VR, and is it a platform you've been exploring? VR is great if you do not get motion sick. I do. I played one VR game last year at E3, and I threw the controller, got very sick, and then screamed because of the game I was playing. So it's not for me. My computer can do VR. I think it's interesting, but it's still a very expensive toy for people who can afford computers that can run VR. And granted, PlayStation does have a headset that's quote unquote affordable, but it's not for me. I mean, I can't even play a lot of first person games because it makes me motion sick. Um, so it's fascinating. AR, altered reality, like when you see Pokemon and Pokemon Go, um, that's fascinating to me. But VR, I could take it or leave it. What are the things you think your work in civic media needs? Ways to show that games are not apolitical. And I'll get to your question in a second, Goofy. Um, because a lot of times games or not Resident Evil, Division Two. What's the one with the androids? Detroit Become Human, things like that, try to be apolitical when they're very much political. So I think we need a way to keep people civically minded around the content they consume and what they're making, and to get away from the idea that games are strictly entertainment, that it is a whole genre, it is a medium, and that I can't sit here and play a war game, where I literally kill people, and a lot of times kill people who look like me, and then pretend that there's no message, that there is no component to the message it gets across to you. And people need to understand that the labor practices in the games industry are bullshit. There is a move to unionize, and it's moving very slowly. And it's hard. It's hard to get people to understand that no one game is ever going to be perfect, but that there's real humans and real human cost of making these games. And when people get mad about a game being delayed, because the Last of Us 2 just announced it was going to be delayed till May, I think, of next year, and people are mad about it. It's like you'd rather have people literally work themselves to death for a game that you're then going to trash in the media anyway, or a game that has a queer protagonist, or a game that has a black protagonist, or a woman, or someone, if we ever get it, a non-binary protagonist, and act like that's an agenda, it's a step too far, without realizing that there are actual people who would love to see themselves in these games. Nilin from Remember Me is one of the first times I've seen a black or person of color on the cover of a game that is actually the lead character. Uncharted 4, the DLC with Nadine and what's her name? I forgot her name, but Claudia Black voices her. That's the first time I get to see two women in a leading role. So things like that, where we need people to be civically engaged and realize there's a whole lot that goes into making games. It's not just programming. Um, and then Goofy had a question. Did I hear about Shroud moving to Mixer? I think it's great for streamers. I think you need to find where you fit best and where you work best. Mixer has some growing up to do. It barely has a share in the mixing and the streaming economy. I don't know about Shroud. I don't follow him. All I know is I keep getting emails from Jinx saying something with him on it is on sale. I could care less about Shroud. I don't even know what he plays. It might be a super dumb / basic question, but I know nothing of the gaming world. But what does your day to day look like doing this work? My day to day often is there's no set day to day because it often depends. So days where I've got the fellowship meetings, it's doing what I can, emails, etc. Maybe a meeting before or after our fellowship, calls. Some days I've got meetings in the evening for other things that I'm doing. I sit on two boards beside my own. It may be reading a Google Doc and going through a diversity consult and blocking off a couple hours for that. So a lot of it is just depending on what's going on, what projects are coming in. So like today and tomorrow, I have to get two things done. I have to get some work done for the RPG I'm co-developing, and I have to do something for GDC so we can get those 25 passes to try to get people to go this year. So day to day, there's no set day to day. It's not like going in an office job. There's some days I may sleep in because my day starts late. It could be a travel day. It could be in two different time zones within 3 days. Like last week, I was gone. I was gone to Big Bad Con and was home for maybe a day and then went to Seattle. So it could be a week and a half where I don't see my house, my cat, my partner. And there could be times like this where I'm actually home for a couple weeks and can get work done, but it's the self discipline that I got to work on because I have time blocked off to do email. That doesn't always happen. I'm trying to. So back to Goofy's. I answered Goofy's question. And I know that Gemini Pearl asked a question way back when I was talking about when I worked in higher ed. How did I manage the stress? In unhealthy ways. I did a lot of hermiting. I did a lot of just playing video games in my off time. And then when I Need Diverse Games became a thing, that took up all my free time, besides hanging out with my partner. What did Kim say that everyone is agreeing with? I'm trying to see. Mixer's trying to definitely increase their share through weird promos. Yeah, I don't. I have no interest in Ninja. I have no interest in anything he's doing. His whole I don't want to stream with women because, oh my god, my marriage, and that's weird. Screw that dude. So, other questions. Normally we go till 2:30 for our civic media meetings, but if no one else in the lab has questions, what about people in the chat or anyone else? Or do you have weird questions about streaming? Yeah, notice how he tried to hit up Lady Gaga to stream. When she was like, "Who are you? And what is Fortnite?" I love that so much. That was like the best Christmas gift. And I was like, okay, all the shade. So, Civic Media Fellows, how has this been for you? Was this weird? Was it interesting? Feel free to tell me in the chat or in our Slack later. And of course, when I'm streaming is when everyone decides to text me. If we want to get started in gaming, what console should we buy? Ooh, so this may start something in the chat. I would say get a PlayStation, and here's why. There's a lot more exclusives on the PlayStation. It's a lot more friendly to gamers. I think there's not a lot that is exclusive to the Xbox, and a majority of the games I buy on PS4 because other people are playing it. And if anyone did want to start streaming, it's because it's much easier to literally install the Twitch app, press a button, and start streaming from the PS4, which is literally how I got started. I would say don't get into PC gaming unless you have the time, energy, and money to constantly update your machine, especially if you decide you want to stream, because it's a struggle. My computer's been blue screening and freezing for the last week, so now I'm looking at probably $2,000 to upgrade or update my machine or fix whatever's wrong or build a whole new machine. You never know. I would say start with a PlayStation 4. The PlayStation 5 is announced for next fall, but without knowing if it is going to be backward compatible, if I got to keep my PS4. Could I? I'm sure I could. I did not even know Second Life was still around. And hello, Queendom. Well, thank you. You're not living in the future so much. So Glacier asked, oh, hey, Martha. I was like, it's like, hello. I could. I didn't even know the Second Life was still around. I've only used TeamSpeak a few times. I prefer Discord because let's say if I decide to bring back my podcast, I can set up an overlay with multiple people in Windows and Discord. So like, let's say I wanted to have window and window And if we saw the Zoom call going and not just here on Twitch, I could screen capture the Zoom call and have that next to me and reduce the size of my my cam and everything, and have side by side. You can also do audio. A lot of times when I'm doing team play, like in Destiny or Division, I am doing Discord calls if the game does not have good in-game chat. But both Destiny and Division have great in-game chat, so I don't always have to use it. Um, TeamSpeak was just a pain in the ass. I never liked it. The few times I played PUBG with friends, we tried to use it. Did not like it. It was just an extra thing. And audio is the devil if you ever decide to stream, just so you know. Audio is the absolute devil. So for those that don't know, all the times I've been doing this up until last thing, I was using a mixer, but now I have this mic. And this mic is so much better. That is replacing a $400 mixer. Linux had a question. Sorry I missed it initially. How are evaluations carried out with respect to... chat moved. Employees testing games to find bugs. I don't know. I've never worked Q&A. I've never worked QA. So I don't know how to answer that question, Linux. I would say ask on Twitter and tag anyone who may work in QA. I've never done QA testing in that sense, as in sitting in a studio. Yeah, so it has I love this. It has a lit up volume indicator. And so if it goes in red, I'm actually peaking a little bit. And then this is my option for what kind of mic I'm using. So the different modes. So it is a new mic from Blue Microphones. This is brand new. It's the Yeti X. And they actually designed it with podcasters and streamers in mind. Yes, I can't speak to that. If anyone in the chat has done that, please feel free to try to answer 87 Linux. I have done mostly consulting, and the games that I've gotten to play are in a state where they're pre-alpha, post-alpha, not beta tested. So yeah, that is a deeper question than I can answer, unfortunately. And Linux, if you're in the cohort, can you please identify yourself, or if you just popped in? I mean, there's different types of QA, definitely, but gaming QA. Oh, I'm sorry, Leaf, but you can always go back and watch the VOD. I mostly talked about my terrible childhood while I showed Team Tanya, so you did miss a lot except for childhood trauma. Sorry. And I'm going to keep the stream going after we're done with this, unless we need to hop into Zoom or something. Okay, I did not see Sadet's tweet. Oh, I've got a lot of Twitter notifications. Which I haven't looked at because I'm here. Oh, welcome, Linux. So yeah, so that is me in a nutshell. Oh, cool. But yeah, I can heartily recommend the Blue Yeti X. I do not have a code for the Yeti because I'm not sponsored by Blue, but it does integrate with the Logitech software. So if you're using Logitech stuff, it can totally integrate with that as well into G Hub, and I adore it. Because I don't know if Dan is watching or able to chat, but I know Dan has said more than once that I sound so much better. My chair? So that's, funnily enough, that is a MAC from actually MAC Cosmetics pillow. Poorly, Gemini Pearl, poorly. I spent way too much time and energy gaming, etc. Curious about my chair setup. So my chair is from GTR Racing, or GT Racing. There's so many gaming chairs that you can use or buy. It should be. I don't know if it'll pick up in the corner of the room depending on how big it is. So my gaming setup is this is my chair I sit in all the time. This is a chair I got off Amazon. I can throw the link in there. It does have a lumbar pillow. It had a head pillow, but I switched it with the Mac pillow. I've got, so I'm gonna I may make a lot of noise because I'm picking up stuff on my desk. So I've got this keyboard also from Logitech. It is actually wireless. It is mechanical, but it's very low profile. Um, and I've got like 8 million mice on my desk from Logitech because I'm an affiliate. Um, they do not. There is a company that makes gaming beanbag chairs. I will have to find it because they've been at PAX. Yeah, see, this is what I mean. This is a $170 mic versus a $400 mixer. So my setup is right now. So this mic, these are wireless headphones that I can either plug into my computer or my PS4 or the Xbox. Actually, no, not the Xbox. Um, I've got the wireless G502 mouse, which is mechanical. Um, and I've got the Logitech charging pad that they sell. Basically, there's one of the discs that you put in here so it charges while sitting on the pad. And I've also got a G604 wireless mouse that is more designed for FPS because you can do macros and other stuff. So let me see your question. 87 Linux asked, what was the most backward situation you had to consult on? A game that was almost ready to ship, where they realized, oh, there's things in our game that may not fly with people. There were a lot of negative tropes. They use like a noble savage kind of thing for a character that taught you something in the game, and they're the very first character you encountered as a player. And they were very much like a wild man, savage kind of witch doctor character, and they taught you how to dance. And I was like, oh boy, you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do this at all. And there was another game that wasn't ship ready, it wasn't even alpha ready when I started consulting, but there were things where you had two black women as characters, and there was a lot to their history that was very stereotypical. There was a lot to their history where you're like, you should think about how they talk, especially if they're from this part of the country, because folks from that part of the country may use certain vernacular that other folks may not use, and someone from that part of the country is going to play this game, post-apocalyptic setting or not, and be like, did you know anyone from that part of the country? Yeah, they fixed it. They changed it. But I was like, oh, no, baby, no. So for those things, and a lot of times when I have to do, well, not have to, when I take on these consultations, I usually have to sign a non-disclosure agreement, NDA, and we have a contract of what I will and will not do. And I send a work estimate, and I go, this is what I think it will take me. Here's the number of hours I have to spend. Here are the number of either hours I can spend reading your thing, if it's an art thing, what's your time estimate, etc. And we go through the whole, here's your commentary. Either give them a marked up document back if it's a document, or we have a call like this on Zoom, whatever, and go, I've read through the document. Here are my comments. Let's go through them. And if there's pushback, it's like, well, you could ship this game in this state or with this thing, and you could deal with the pushback and the Twitter storm and realizing that a lot of people aren't going to buy this game because of the things you're putting in it. And if I get the, well, it's too late in the development cycle, the assets are done, I'm like, well, you could either take this out, you could delay your game, or you can think about the cost ratio of what is going to happen when this game gets out there and people see this terrible shit. And it also depends on my relationship with the client. If it's a friend who's come to me and they've got a thing, and I can be super blunt and very like, this is bullshit, fix it, versus a AAA client where I can go, here's in writing all the things that are wrong with this game. Here are things that I hope you still have time to fix. If you don't, here's an alternate way to address it, maybe a patch. But the hard part is getting people to come to you when you can still fix it. Because so many times people come to you and it's way too late. They can't fix anything. Or the game is, at the finaling stage before it gets certified. All games have to get certified and say, yes, this game is good for PC, Mac, console, what have you, before it actually gets pressed and shipped out. Um, so that's a job some of my friends in the industry have. They have to final this game and get it approved and certified. So, and then I just go, if you don't listen to me, here is the clause that you will not throw me under the bus for not listening to me. If because I can only give you advice, I can only tell you what I see wrong here, but I cannot force you to fix this. Ideally, you will listen to me and fix it because you brought me on and paid me money to fix this. So yeah, they fixed that. They took it out. It was a lot because I've seen too many people get thrown under the bus. Sometimes they do. A lot of people don't know that diversity consultant is a thing you can even do. And hey, Colin, I figured it might be you. A lot of people don't understand that sensitivity reading is a thing that happens. That diversity consulting is a thing that does exist. And so when I give these talks, like when I gave a talk at Bungie, when I gave a talk last year at different games, I was able to go, hey, there's plenty of situations where people bring you in at the last minute because someone on the team maybe noticed it, and maybe they have or haven't had a chance to speak up, or maybe someone went, oh, this is terrible, how did no one catch this? So I think people are doing it earlier and earlier, but it's still not a widely known thing. And the other hard part is a lot of people don't want to pay for this. They think it's something you should do as a service to the community, and you love games. And I'm like, I still got bills to pay. I still have to eat. Does that answer you, Colin? Okay, I just didn't know like how big your room was. Right, Kim? I mean, editing. Oh boy. Leaf asked, do you think those contacted me late because they didn't know diversity consulting was a thing? Some of them, yes. And the other part is a lot of times there can be people of color, marginalized folks in the room. I don't know if Jack is still here, but like, let's say Jack, Sedette, and I are in a meeting and we're working on a game. We have an idea, and there's a couple bros, and they come up with something terribly racist or terribly stereotypical. And in a regular setting or in an office or whatever, that person, though, and that's too many marginalized people in one studio for one thing, but let's say hypothetically, is someone not wanting to speak up or being afraid to speak up because they don't want to be seen as a troublemaker or they don't think they'll get listened to. But the white bro could bring up the thing and he'll be lauded as a hero. Oh my god, you saved us. You thought you saw this terrible thing. But he was probably the one who put the terrible thing in there in the first place. What do you think is the underlying reason you need to do this consulting work around sensitivity? Because the game industry is 75% white, cishet, straight men. That's why. The 2017 data from the Developer Satisfaction Survey is literally 69%, really 74%, because they gave you different ways to be a flavor of white in responding to the survey. It is 1% Black people, 3% Hispanic Latino, 2% Asian and Arab, 3% Indigenous, 18% Asian, or I'm sorry, South Asian, because they did break out parts of Asia. So that's why. Because they don't realize women like me in their 40s are actually a bigger part of the market than they actually are. So there are people making these games that don't listen and don't realize that it's anyone but us, anyone but them and their bros sitting around playing Call of Duty for 12 hours a night because they have nothing else to do besides roll out of bed and go to their job that they make too much money in and have no other things to spend disposable income on. Well, Vixie, the hard part is a lot of times there is a diverse workforce, but they don't get listened to. There's someone that's not in a position where they even get to be in those meetings. There's a lot of times you don't get to be in the meeting where they talk about character creation unless you're on the writing team, unless you're on the art team. And if they have no people of color on the art team, they have no people of color in the writer's pit, cough, Dragon Age, cough, um, you get what you get. Look at Vivienne. As much as I love Dragon Age, Vivienne is a terrible stereotype of an angry black woman and an ice queen. You can't romance her. Um, exactly, Kim. Because the game industry is basically 75% white cis straight dudes. Some of them neurotypical, some neurodivergent. Because the 2017 data, and the reason I can pull these numbers because I use these in the talk I just gave a week ago. A lot of people did say that they have mental health issues, but look at the way games treat mental health. In like, villains are still quote unquote crazy, or that's their other issue. Because I think they probably go out and get they get consultants. So yeah, that's where we are. All right. It is about 2:30. I'm gonna keep the stream going, but unless anyone else in the cohort has questions, and you can hang out, you don't have to leave. But I mean, the official part of me talking and doing my life map is kind of done, unless there's more questions. But I think I'm gonna take a little break, get some water, because I'm doing an interview for the Civic Media Fellowship later today. You're so welcome. Oh, no worries. You all are always welcome to come back and hang out in the stream. It's just, for me, it was a little interesting, so I'm interested in feedback and what people thought of doing it this way. No problem. Well, and thanks for everyone for hanging out. You can hang out in the stream. You don't have to leave. I don't know what else you have to do for the other folks in LA, but you don't have to leave. I just need a quick break for bio and to get some water and not old coffee. But we can either keep chatting and change to just chatting, or we can go back to The Sims, we could play another game, or we could see what else is going on in the world. Because it is about 2:30 on a Thursday. And I don't know if Brian's around, if he's going to stream today, if anyone else is around. So I'm not leaving, I'm just taking a quick break. So you're welcome. And throw more questions in the Slack if you have questions about streaming, if you want me to do a deep dive about streaming, or anything else. All right, bye. Have a good lunch. Bye, everyone. Thanks for hanging out. And hopefully this was not like too weird and meta. But yeah, I'm going to get a quick break, enjoy some music, and I will be RB.